Well, welcome to this part of our evening. I am shortly going to hand over to Dave, and he is going to explain what we're looking at tonight. And this week we have so far in our series on blessing people looked at beginning with prayer, and we made a list of friends that we are praying for, maybe friends and family, who don't yet know Jesus. So we've prayed for them. Maybe you're still praying. I encourage you to keep praying for those people. Wherever you've put that list, make sure it's somewhere you can see and keep praying for them. Then we looked at listening and how to listen to people. And I really hope that as you've gone back to school, you've had some time where you've had deeper conversations with friends and you've been able to listen to people and do that well. Last week we talked about eating, and I hope that whether it was grabbing a coffee with someone or grabbing lunch together, wherever it is, I hope that you've had a chance to eat with someone and just get to those deeper parts of conversation. Maybe you talked about faith, maybe you didn't, I don't know, but I hope you've had a chance to eat with people over the last week or grab a coffee. So I hope that's going well. I'm going to hand over to Dave, who's going to bring us our first S of bless. So thank you, Dave.
Hi everyone, good to be back with you again for another Breathe. Remember, we are thinking about the 5 ways that we can bless, B-L-E-S-S, people, and all these ways that are proven ways to help in the way that we engage with people, to help them ultimately discover something of the faith that we have. So we thought about beginning with prayer, praying for people regularly. So important. God is the one who is going to do this work, and we need to pray and join in with him. We talked about listening to people and being people who are open and wanting to hear from others instead of just talk. Talked about eating and drinking and just being with people and sharing in that kind of thing with them. And today we come to our first S, which is to serve people. To serve people. Now, it's a really important thing that we can do. And again, I want to think about what Jesus did, some stuff that I've done, and some things that you can do. So, what did Jesus do? How did he serve people? Well, first thing I want to point out is the fact that he did serve people, and that is a pretty big statement to make. Why? Well, as we know, Jesus is God. Jesus is God, and he was on earth as a human, but still very much God, and he decided the way that he would treat people would be to serve them, to help them, to do things for them. And we see that in all of his miracles, the people that he helped to see, the people who were deaf, who he helped to hear, the couple of people who were dead, who he brought back to life, all the people who were hungry, and he fed the 5,000 plus people. All of these people, in addition to it being amazing displays of God's power, he helped them, he served them, he chose to use his universe-creating power to serve other people, to help them. Now, I'm not suggesting we can always do that in the way that Jesus did, but his heart was always to help other people. There's a story towards the end of his life when he was saying goodbye to his disciples before he was going to die. And he, at the end of the meal, he was the one who got a bucket of water, put a towel around himself, and washed everybody's feet. And then afterwards he said, I've washed your feet, so you should also wash others' feet. Wash each other's feet and wash other people's feet. He's saying that I'm a servant, you should serve as well. There's a verse in the Bible that says that the Son of Man, that's Jesus, he came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life for everyone. So, he didn't just serve people in those day-to-day ways. He also served us all by dying. God chooses to take the form of a servant. That's how he represents himself to the world. He serves us. And if that's the case, then it stands to reason that it's probably good for us to serve others if we're trying to show them what God is like. It also helps because if we serve other people, we're showing we care about you. And if we care about people, then they're far more likely to be interested in what it is that's motivating who we are. If we come across as people who don't want to help other people out, who have no time for other people's needs, then we're not going to be the kind of people who people look at and go, yeah, there's something about them. I want to know where that comes from. They're going to think, I don't want to be like them. So Jesus served people all the time. Now, what does that mean? Well, I want to talk about some things that I've done. And really, what I've done is it's not complicated or clever. It's doing things that I'm able to do to help other people out. I mean, it's no more than that. I'm not talking about being someone other than you are. I'm not talking about learning a whole new skill just so that you can help someone out with something. I'm talking about using what you've already got at your disposal. So, some really simple things. Natalie and I, during lockdown, we have a car and we do shopping. And our next door neighbour, who has a car but sometimes it's been rickety, and she's also quite elderly and so didn't necessarily want to be out at the shops and couldn't lift some heavy things, we've done shopping for her. I'm not saying that because we're amazing, aren't we wonderful, but the truth is it's not that hard. But it helps her. It blesses her. It's a way of serving her. And as a result, she's learnt these are the kind of neighbours who want to help me. These are the kind of neighbours who care about me. She's not following Jesus. We hope that one day she will. There have been trying to have some conversations there, but just serving her is a good thing to do. Here's another example. I've got a friend who I've known for about 16, 17 years, and her mum is a teacher in a school. She's a head teacher, and she's a head teacher in a Church of England school, and she's not a Christian. My friend isn't a Christian either. But we've had lots of conversations about faith, and she knows, how important it is to me, and she also knows what I do for a job. And so when she was talking to her mum on the phone, and her mum was saying about how actually she's finding the religious aspects of being a Church of England school head teacher quite difficult because she doesn't really understand Christian faith very well, and she was saying, I like things like assemblies and some of the faith curriculum and stuff like that. I don't really know what I'm doing with it. And she was just saying that to her daughter because she was catching up and sharing about how her job's going. But her daughter knew me well enough to know that I might be up for helping. And she said, well, do you want me to get in contact with Dave and see if he'd be happy to have a chat with you? I'm sure he'd be happy to talk to you about Christian faith, or maybe even to help out with the odd assembly or two. And so she asked me. And I was really glad she asked me because it shows that I'm seen as a helpful person. I'm seen as someone who would want to do something to help someone else out, especially given that it had to do with my faith. So anyway, my friend put us in touch. And for about, 3-4 months now, I've been doing assemblies for her, either on Zoom or pre-recorded, and Shona Hunter-Singh, who also loves to serve people and help people, has been helping me out to help her out. And as a result, we have shown we're willing to give our own time and our own skills, because it involves video editing and all that kind of stuff, and putting talks together and all that kind of stuff, which we can do because it's stuff that we do, and it's not particularly difficult for us, but it really helps her out. It's using what I've got, skills that I've got, things that I've got, in order to help someone who is in need. That's what serving is. Serving is just using what we've got to help other people. So those are some things that I've done. Again, not sharing that to say, hey, how wonderful am I, look at me. They're really simple things. But they're things that I've had to choose to do, to be available to do. So, what can you do? Well, again, it's not rocket science. This week, can I encourage you to be on the lookout for ways that you can use what you already have to help other people? Now, this links up really well with some of the previous ones, because if we're listening to people well, if we're listening to people, which might happen, well, if we're, having a bite to eat with them or something like that, if we're having time with them, just unpressured time that eating and drinking can often do, but if we're listening to people, if we're hearing them, it won't take long before we start to hear some needs that they have, some ways in which they could be blessed, some ways in which we or others might be able to serve them. And when we know that, when we've figured that out, then we can start to think and pray about how we could do it, about what we could do for them. And then there's two ways you can do it. You can either tell them, you can either offer, or just do it in secret. Doing it in secret, you might think, well, the whole point is that people are meant to start seeing Jesus in me. Yeah, well, maybe that'll come, but remember, it's God who's at work. Sometimes a secret, anonymous blessing can be really cool. Our front doorstep was broken. there was a concrete slab that the cement had come undone and it had snapped, and it was just sort of wobbling and it fell off. And for ages, every so often someone would put the broken slab back on top. And I would take it off because I thought, well, actually, I'd rather it was just obviously broken rather than someone think it's secure, stand on it and fall off. And so I'd got quite used to people trying to be helpful, putting it back on, and me coming and taking it off. And one morning, I opened the front door and I saw that it was on there. And so I bent down to pick it off and put it by the side, and it had been cemented back on. It was fixed. It was secure. Someone, without telling us, and we still have no idea who, had come round to the front of our house and served us by fixing our front doorstep. Nobody told us. Still don't know who it was, but it's pretty cool. You could do that, or some things you can't be that secretive about. Some things you're going to have to say, actually, can I help you with that? Could I do that for you? Could I make that easier for you? Here's something that I could do. So be on the lookout, listen out for things where you could help someone else and show that attitude of Jesus, that attitude that Jesus had in the world of serving people and helping people. It builds your reputation so well, but more than that, it builds Jesus' reputation if people know that what is motivating you is your faith and is the example of Jesus. And that might be what we come on to next week as well, a little bit more. So, BLESS, and today we're talking about serving other people. It's really simple. Sometimes it costs us something, but it is really simple. It's something we can all do if we're on the lookout and the listen out for ways to do it. So, serving people. How are you going to do it this week?
Thank you so much, Dave, for that. He mentioned actually a story about Jesus washing his disciples' feet, and we're going to be looking at that story in depth during the week. So maybe you want to read it before then. I encourage you to do that. It's such an amazing story. So yeah, read that before. But tonight we are going to spend some time in our Zoom groups thinking about who we can bless this week and how. So maybe you've had some ideas already as Dave was talking about ways that you can bless people. Maybe you do it regularly. Maybe you are a person who serves people in different ways, and that's part of your DNA or character in you, and you enjoy doing that for people. Maybe you're sat there thinking, I don't remember the last time I served someone. But let me encourage you, we're going to be encouraged together to bless people by serving this week. So look forward to joining back on Zoom and hearing your ideas of who and how you're going to bless this week.